Good evening, everyone. Welcome to my man cave. It's Thursday. It's oh boy, it's been hot outside. Brother Jeff, how's the heat in Florida?
Hot.
Hot. And and Tanya's upstairs running the show. Tanya knows it's been nasty here today. It's been nasty here all week. It's uh it's been in the mid 90s every day with uh sauna like humidity.
It's been awful.
Yeah.
I had the truck in the garage and it was registering 99 in the garage.
Yeah, it's I don't know what we maxed out. When I looked at the thermometer here on my weather station outside at about 4 or 4:30 this afternoon, it was 94 or 95 out there. It was just crazy. So let me get over here on the comment side so I can see what's going on. We got Mike, Brian, Andy, Hank. Glad you guys could make it with us tonight. We'll have a drink. Jeff, you drinking with us tonight?
Absolutely.
What are you having?
Chattanooga Original, 91 proof.
Oh yeah. Andy's having a beer up there in Pennsylvania. Hank, I bet Hank's having Tito's. I'm going to get into this single barrel Knob Creek again. I'm getting kind of low on that one. I really like this, and I've got another good glass maybe there with a little extra left over, but this is one of the ones I don't. No, I think I can get that one. That one's not that hard to come by. It's the 12-year-old Knob Creek that I can't get very often. But I
There's
like Knob
Janice.
Creek. Janice, glad you could make it in with us. I bet it's hot out in Texas. I bet where
Oh man,
Janice is.
she's sweltering.
Yeah.
I'm ready for October.
Tanya, you drinking with us tonight?
Past ready.
You know, my
Tanya's
beloved
got
Tar
Tanya's
Heel
got a
Cooler
ginger ale going in
with
her
a ginger ale.
in her
Yeah,
Tar Heels Yeti can
yeah,
hugger.
yeah.
So
My sweet husband bought this for me.
cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Mm, it's good stuff. I went to visit a distillery today, and I'll tell you guys about it later. Uh, I bought a bottle of a wheated bourbon from a local distillery. Janice said, I saw Janice commenting the other day that she didn't want to even fire up the grill. It's so hot. I can empathize with that. It is. It's nasty. Hunter, I'm glad you could make it with us. Are you having a drink with us tonight too? Mr. Barnett, there. Did you sign up for the cooking classes with Chef Todd? Somebody else did. I think is Eric Smith. Is Eric in here tonight? I think I remember Eric signing up for Chef Todd's web cooking classes. I've been Beth's having a beer. That's cool. But yeah, Chef Todd stuff, man. I have really enjoyed all of that. I keep going back to various bits and pieces of it. I've been all the way through the web cooking classes, video courses. I haven't spent significant amount of time doing all of it, but I've got a good reference there, and there's still some things that I want to do. Andrew's with us. Yeah, Andrew's been down in that Mississippi heat. I'm glad you like it. I've learned a lot from Chef Todd. I really enjoy his content. And guys, for if any of you are curious about what we're talking about, it's the online cooking classes that I signed up for quite a while back from Chef Todd Moore up. I think he's in Virginia now. He used to be in Baltimore. I think he's moving or building a house or something. I haven't been following him personally that closely lately, but it's webcookingclasses.com is the program we're talking about. And I bought an additional set of classes from him called the Sauce Boss that I'm getting ready to start playing with because I really want to get my sauce game in gear. I think sauce making is important, and we're going to take my cooking game to the next level by learning to do a lot of these sauces that I've only been hacking into so far. But man, I like some sauces. And his
Sausages are
class,
great.
yeah, his class starts out with the mother sauces, and the mother sauces I think in the French culinary world are not that difficult. I think maybe the most difficult one out of the set would be the hollandaise, and it's not that difficult. There's a there's a lot of hacks for hollandaise that are not French hacks, but there's a lot of ways to make a hollandaise. And Tanya, do you like hollandaise? I've only made it a few times.
I do like hollandaise, especially
Okay,
if you're going to make
eggs Benedict.
eggs Benedict.
Yeah, that's what we've done. We've done that a few times, but the times that I've made the hollandaise there, I've cheated. I've used Kenji's method instead of the classical French method. I've done it in the blender, and it works really well.
Tastes
It's
great.
real, yeah, it's easy to do. So, but anyway, we're not here to talk about the mother sauces. We'll
No,
get
but
rolling
you know
here.
what we do need to talk about?
What?
We need to wish Beth and her husband a happy anniversary.
That's right. I saw that today. They've been married for 30. Was it 30 years? Are they at the 30?
I think 38. I think the original
30?
posting was at 30.
Okay. Well, that's awesome.
Youngster still.
Happy anniversary. One thing I like about Beth,
38, she says.
Beth likes
Congratulations,
good,
Beth.
Beth likes good music. Beth's constantly going to a lot of live music. So, Janice, you've never had a hollandaise? Oh boy. Uh, maybe once I do the French classical method of making hollandaise, maybe I'll make a little video of that because it's not really hard to do, and hollandaise comes together quickly. You just got to have your stuff, your mise en place. You've got to have your stuff ready to go. If you've got your stuff ready to go, the hollandaise comes together quickly. Uh,
As long as
and
you
I
don't
think
scramble your eggs, you're good to go.
yeah, you don't scramble your egg. You don't have anything too hot. You got to have your butter not too hot. Your melted butter, and so it's an emulsion. It's not like your other mother sauces. Your other mother sauces are based in a roux, and well, three of them are based in roux, and the other one's a reduction. It's the tomato sauce is a reduction. It's not what's the term I'm looking for here? It's not starch. It's not starch expanding and thickening your sauce with the starch. So I see Tanya's got help. So Tanya, we'll bring you back up here in a little bit. We can get rolling.
Hi.
Jeff's been doing a little cooking. Let's bring up Jeff's pictures here. Oh, I'm on the wrong screen. Here we go. Jeff's got a little video here, and it looks like he's got a couple of nice tuna fillets going on there on the soapstone. What's going on here, Jeff?
Yeah, those are some ahi tunas on the soapstone. You can't get any better for cooking tuna than on the soapstone, in my humble opinion.
Well,
Season it
what's
up
going?
with River Street board, and did you see River Street? That stuff
Yeah.
is great.
What kind of oil you got down there?
I'm just using some olive oil.
Olive oil.
Yep.
Okay. How far did you cook those? Did you leave them raw?
Oh yeah. They were not on much longer than when I was making this video.
Right. Is this the finished product?
Oh yeah. Had them over the yellow grits, stone ground yellow grits.
Oh yeah. I oh I yeah. I ordered more grits today. I used I didn't use all of the last of our grits uh when I did that Thor's hammer, but I realized that we were down to our last bag, so I ordered some more of those. And actually, when those come in, I'll bring those into the live stream. I want to tell you about my grits. And uh, I've
Next,
discovered the world's best grits.
next time I make grits, these grits were 50-50 milk and heavy cream. Next time
Hmm.
I make them, it's going to be 50-50 heavy cream and chicken stock.
Uh, I've done. I like using stock and half and half. That's the way I like to go. You can do it with heavy cream, but you can cook grits completely in heavy cream if you want to. You can cook them in whatever you want. But what I don't care for is grits cooked in water, and that's another
Yeah,
thing that
no flavor to
you'll
them.
yeah, that's another thing you'll learn from Chef Todd's cooking classes. He pounds this idea into your head of cooking with flavorful liquids, and nothing has less flavor than water. Well, Beth, we don't judge people that haven't had grits. It's a southern thing. When you get outside the southeastern United States, most people don't know what grits are. Uh, most people, most people like polenta though, and that's similar.
Anurag's right. A well-made grits with water can be just as creamy. It can be
Well,
just
it,
as
it,
creamy,
it
but it's
it can
not. It
be.
lacks flavor.
It does. It just doesn't bring the flavor that you get with. Tanya doesn't care for. Tanya likes hers cooked with water more than about anything else. She doesn't care for the. She'll eat them, but she doesn't care as much for the grits that I make that have the stock in it. Uh, she's been okay with the grits that I made with just whole milk. Andrew likes white grits. Andrew, I prefer the yellow, and that's what I bought today. I bought, and Tanya, for if you're still listening, I bought 5 more bags of the Marsh Hen Mill
I
grits.
saw woo woo that down there.
Yeah, I got, and I ordered that farro that you wanted also, so it'll be here when all that stuff comes in. Uh, but those are, I think the bags are 2 pounds, 2 pound bags, and it's $7 a bag. But when I get that shipment, which hopefully will be before next week, I'll maybe show them to you. But we'll see. Let's see what else Jeff's got going on here. That looks like
Uh,
some pork tenderloin.
they are. That's marinated in that Sweetwater's button rib marinade. If you
Hmm.
guys haven't tried that, you really need to try that. Marinate your pork tenderloins overnight in that. Really comes out great.
Janice, I'd have to disagree, but that's just me. And Tanya, maybe we'll ask Tanya about that too. Tanya,
Yeah.
do you prefer the flavor of the white grits or the yellow grits? You like the yellow, just like me, right?
I like the yellow grits the best.
To me, the yellow grits have a sweeter. They have a little bit more sweetness to them, I think, than the white ones do. But I don't know.
I agree with that statement.
I've had both, and the company that we buy ours from, you can get white grits, you can get yellow grits, or you
You
can
can
get
get
speckled grits that are
blue
a
grits
50-50
or
mix.
red grits or
Yeah,
a
red
combination
grits and
thereof.
blue grits. They've got all kinds of stuff. So, all right,
Oh, and John,
yeah.
Andrew's anniversary at 27 years is tomorrow. So
Oh
happy
yeah,
anniversary, Andrew and
Happy
wife. Woo-hoo.
anniversary, and you.
nice. Shrimp and grits should be America's national dish. On a rock, I could get behind that, but you're going to have to give it a 50-50 with chicken and waffles. Chicken and waffles and shrimp and grits. That's my jam right there. Tanya will tell you when we go to restaurants we haven't been to, if either one of those is on the menu, I'm going to get one or the other.
That's
But
it, true.
yeah,
Yeah.
all right, Tanya, I'll bring you back. But this marinade, what was that marinade, Jeff?
It's Sweetwater's butt and rib marinade. Hang on. I'll grab the bottle and show it to you. Where's the bottle?
Sweetwater butt and ribs. I'm not familiar with it. I typically don't marinade. I don't have anything against it. It's just not something I do. My marinade is in the form of a dry brine, usually with a dry rub. Let's hang on a second, Jeff. Okay, yeah, sweet button rib back. I've had some of their stuff before. Back before I got involved with Kamado Joe, when I was solely Man Cave Meals, that guy sent me some samples of all of his stuff, and I used it. He had a brisket bath, I think, that I played with also. But now that you show me that, I remember that. So
This is the only one of his that I've used, and it's smoked apple and spice is the one that I get,
right,
and it's five times the concentration.
what's on the ingredients list in that?
All right, let's see here. Apple juice from water and apple concentrate, kosher salt, tamarind paste, brown sugar, ancho chili, chipotle chili, onion, smoked paprika, black pepper, garlic, cinnamon, cumin, and celery seed.
Does it have any acidity in it? Was there
No,
vinegar in that list anywhere?
nope.
Hmm, okay.
And it's only zero point 0.5 carbs.
Yeah. There's no sugar in it then.
No,
Okay. So you
it's got
marinated.
it's got a very little bit of brown sugar in it, but I marinated overnight, 50-50 mix.
Okay. And then you just put them on. That looks like your pellet, Joe.
Yeah, I put it on a pellet, Joe. I put on the Georgia butts and rib rub before I
Hmm.
put them on, and bring them up to 130.
Yep.
And like I say, that's one of my favorite meats to cook right there. I mean, it comes out so tender, so
I
moist.
agree. Pork tenderloin is very underrated, and for me, pork loin's very underrated too. I like both of them, but it's taken me until later in life to learn to appreciate either one of them because all the way up until I started cooking these things myself, every time I've been fed that stuff, it's been overcooked. It's been cooked dry. It's been dried out and
Yep.
just overcooked. If you take these things to 165, you might as well just slice them up and throw them straight in the garbage can. They're
No, don't even bother slicing them. That's a waste of your time. Just throw them in the garbage.
well. Let me tell you something. My wife does not like pink in these things, so I've learned where the sweet spot is for pork loin and pork tenderloin, and you've got to get it to 140 or 141 to have no pink. And if I pull those off at 136 or 137, if I haven't been cooking too hot, they'll coast right up to 140 or 141 during the 10 or 15-minute rest. And they're perfectly tender and they're extremely juicy at that temperature. I don't mind a little bit of pink. If I'm cooking for myself, I'll pull that off when the internal temperature hits 130 and let it coast up to 135 ish. Worcestershire powder hides the pink. Well, I don't know. I've got Worcestershire powder here. Uh, actually, I don't. I tossed out what I had. I need to get some more because the big thing of it I bought, Worcestershire powder tends to turn into a rock in the container that it's in after it's been opened and closed 20 or 30 times. The moisture gets in there, but I need to order some more of that. Worcestershire powder is an ingredient that I like to use. That's one of the back end ingredients I like to use in some of my personal rubs. So keep that in mind when I'm giving you rub recipes that don't tell you to use Worcestershire powder. uh, I don't give away all my secrets, but I give away a lot of them. I'm good to you guys, and we're gonna get in the rub recipe here tonight too. So yeah, Scott, what I need to do next time I buy a big container of Worcestershire powder is I need to take it and break it down into smaller parcels and vacuum seal it where I'm only opening up a little bit of it at a time and it'll last me a lot longer. That container I bought was a pound of Worcestershire powder, which is probably a lifetime supply for most people. So, all right, Jeff, what we got going on here?
Korean ribs.
Short ribs?
Yep. Went to Sam's and got the short ribs from there
I'm gonna
and
let you in on a
marinate.
secret. I have
Okay.
never cooked those.
Really?
I've
Oh, these
never
came
cooked.
out good. That Korean marinade made them so tender. I mean, it was almost like a full beef rib. They'd been cooked
Well,
6, 7 hours.
I was gonna cook some, I had a package of those that I bought from Porter Road, which was part of what I lost when I left my freezer door open all weekend that time.
Yeah, that would do it.
Yeah, I was gonna do some, but those look delicious. What did you season that with again?
It was just the Korean marinade, the J&P Korean marinade, and
Right.
they came out really good. Next
Okay.
time I do it, I'm going to use Anurag's recipe. He sent a recipe for Korean marinade. It's
Yep.
got apple and
So,
pear in it. This marinade also had the apple and pear in it.
guys, what you're looking at here is short ribs that are cut a different way. If you've seen those racks of 3 bone and 4 bone beef short ribs that Jeff and I've cooked in the past, this is that, but it's sliced against the bone into thin slices. And what are those? Maybe a third of an inch thick, Jeff?
Yeah, about that.
They're not very thick, but one of the things that most people don't know, and in fact, I need to do another video on this at some point maybe, is you can cook beef ribs like this to medium rare, and they're delicious. They're really good. They're not fall apart, flaky tender. They have a little steak consistency. They're more of a steak consistency, but uh, these things are really good. Now I'm gonna try it. I gotta get some more of them though. Like I said, I lost some of those in my freezer.
These
That
were really good.
Well, I think yeah, we got going on here. Jeff's got his alpha fired up, and he's got
Yeah, buddy.
some fish in there on the plank. Tell us about this one.
That's salmon on the plank. Once again, the River Street, and we served that over the uh, yellow grits as well.
I have never had fish on grits before. Now,
You got to try it.
I will because I think I'd like it. I've had lots of salmon served on a bed of mashed potatoes though, and I think this picture's our finished product.
Yes,
That looks good, Jeff. That looks delicious. I've not tried cedar planking in the wood fired oven. I haven't.
it works good. So you got to soak your planks really good to
Yeah.
get it to go. On those ribs, Carl, what I did is I did a little bit differently than what you would normally do with Korean ribs. Korean ribs are usually cooked at a higher temperature, and it's usually like 3 minutes per side. I threw them in the bark for about what did I say, hour and a half, I think, hour and a half, 2 hours at 200 to pull in a little bit of smoke, and then I moved them over to the classic three and finished them off about 2.5 minutes per side.
Right. They look good.
Oh, they were excellent. They're nice and tender. That marinade really tenderizes very nicely.
Right. So, what you got coming up this coming week?
You know, I haven't figured out what I'm going to cook yet this week. I need to cook. I need to cook something on the Masterbuilt this week because they just updated the app on that. And they want everybody to test that. That their app has been working very well.
Oh,
So,
really? I didn't have much luck with the app when I had my master built. But then
well,
again,
the
you
app
know
is
how.
completely new.
Yeah.
It's not what they have used in the past. I still have their old app, but their new app, it's who's ever doing the programming on it is doing a great job, and they're listening to the feedback and they are correcting whatever issues really quick.
Right.
Unlike something else
Okay.
that we know of.
All right. Well, let's look. I'm gonna bring my stuff up. First thing, I went on a hike today. I went up to a place called Stone Mountain State Park in Roaring Gap, North Carolina. I'm not. I've got some photos that I'll show you if you want to stick around at the end. I'm not gonna run the photos from the hike now for that way the people who aren't interested in the hike don't have to stick around for it. But I've got a photo set from that, and then we'll just move on. The first thing I wanted to give you guys this week is Man Cave Magic #2. And this is based on, for those of you that were with us when I did the live stream where we made the rubs, this is sort of like the one we did there. I've only made one minor tweak to it, but this is my go-to homemade pork and beef rub, general purpose barbecue rub, and these are the ingredients that I use in it: kosher salt, paprika, black pepper, granulated onion, granulated garlic, and sugar. So uh, what I've done here, I've got my mixing bowl out, and you can't really see my ratios here, but all these ingredients in here, I've got salt, sugar, paprika, granulated onion, granulated garlic, and black pepper. And the ratios, or this is what it looks like mixed up. And I made, this is about 2 1/4 or 2 1/3 cups of this. And here's the recipe. It's 1 part black pepper, 1 part granulated garlic, 1 part granulated onion. And when I did our live stream, I used 2 parts salt, 2 parts paprika, and 2 parts sugar. But after testing that a little bit more, I needed to add a little bit more salt to it, so I brought it up to 3 parts salt, and that made this just perfect in my mind. And Brian, uh, Worcestershire powder is in the eye of the beholder. There might be another ingredient that might end up in mine also, and that's MSG. I like MSG in my rubs, so if you've got Worcestershire powder, feel free to add some to this. You won't regret it. Uh, and feel free to add MSG to it. When you're adding MSG, err on the side of caution. Be careful, because once you put too much of that in there, you can't fix it. So, but I like MSG, and I don't have any problems with MSG. But I've decided to quit including it in my recipes because it does nothing but cause me grief. People complain about that being a health risk or a health problem, and I'm tired of hearing it. So
You know what
just
we used to
know
call MSG, John?
what
Jazz.
jazz. Well, I
Because
tell
it
you,
jazzes up everything.
yeah, it's good stuff, and it's just like when I'm cooking sauces and stuff. When I'm putting sauces together, like barbecue sauces or steak sauces or whatever, I've got 2 secret ingredients I use in that stuff. I use anchovy fillets or fish sauce, one or the other,
Mhm.
because that brings something else to these things that you can't get any other way. Hank made it with 2 parts salt. It's okay with 2 parts salt, but I thought it needed a little more. After I got to really tasting that, I just felt like it needed it. So I changed what I'm going to make myself to 3 parts salt on that. So that's the man cave magic number two. You know, last week we talked about magic number one, which is just the salt, pepper, garlic blend, and I talked about a little cayenne pepper and a little MSG in that as an optional add in also. So those are my go-to rubs. The third, I'm going to have Man Cave Magic number three, but it won't come up next week. But it's going to be a rub that's going to be designed for poultry and fish, and I'll give you that recipe down the road. Next week, we're probably going to have or actually, we are having a guest, and I'll talk about that later too. So I want to talk about the pizza that I made this week. Uh, I like white pizza, and white pizza doesn't have tomato sauce on it. And Tanya and I are actually fans. I'm gonna bring Tanya back in here for a minute. Let's see. Yeah, Brian, MSG is naturally occurring in a lot of things, but people seem to believe that it causes all kind of health issues because of some bad information that was published a long time ago. Tanya and I'm going to admit this reluctantly here. We like Pizza Hut. Pizza Hut's got a pizza that Tanya and I like, and it's got this garlic and Parmesan sauce on it, right, Tanya?
It
It's a
does.
instead of a tomato sauce, it's a garlic Parmesan sauce. And I was telling Tanya the other day, I said I need to see how close I can get to that. And my white sauce prior to this was a ricotta based sauce. I would take ricotta cheese, I would mince garlic to put in it, and add some red pepper flake and add some salt, a pinch of salt to that, and that would be my white sauce. And I got to looking around and thinking about it, and I said, I need to apply some of the knowledge that I've learned in my online cooking classes. So what I decided to do this time was make a bechamel. So this white sauce that you see in this jar, I didn't take any pictures as I was making this, and I could kick myself in the butt for that now because this came out really well, but it didn't come out. It wasn't amazing. It was just good. Tanya, it was good, right? You
It
liked
was
it.
good. Yeah.
Okay, but it didn't have the garlic punch
Yeah. I
that
just wanted a little
that
more
we were
garlic.
looking for. So what I've got here, guys, is this sauce. I used 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter, and I melted that in a saucepan. And once it melted, I tossed in some red pepper flake and some minced garlic. I chopped the garlic. I didn't mince it finely. I chopped it with a knife finely, and I used 2 cloves of garlic, and I I tossed in the garlic, then the red pepper flake, and I let that cook in that butter as that butter got hot. And I was watching. The reason I didn't use finely minced garlic is because I didn't want it to cook too quickly. I wanted to be able to watch my garlic start to brown. And once that garlic started to brown, uh, I added my flour to turn this into a roux. I added 2 tablespoons of flour. You're going to use 2 tablespoons of butter, 2 tablespoons of flour for this roux. And I got that stirred up, and you have to let that flour cook just a little bit. And what I'm watching for there when I'm cooking a roux is for that flour to just start to change color. And you'll smell it when that happens. It'll take on a nutty smell, and it'll start to turn slightly brown. And when that starts happening, it's okay to put the milk in. I used a cup. I think I used about a cup and a quarter of milk in this. And then I pretty much constantly whisking this, and we're over medium high heat and bringing that back up to a boil and whisking it constantly until it starts to thicken. And once it starts to thicken, I pull it off the heat, and then I grated in some Parmigiano Reggiano. Uh, I don't know how much I put in there. I think I probably grated what would be the equivalent of maybe a quarter of a cup of that. And the bechamel's hot, so this technically becomes a Mornay when I add cheese to it, but I'm not going to call it a Mornay at this point. So it's what we've got, you know. Gorgonzola, I'm with you. Gorgonzola is a good pizza cheese. I agree with that. But this one, I wanted to keep it Parmesan. I want the Parmesan to be prevalent, and I want the garlic to be prevalent. So I let that sauce cool a little bit. I stuck it in this jar and then put it in the refrigerator. I made this a day in advance because I want the flavor to have an opportunity to develop there before I put it on a pizza. And this had the consistency where it would coat the back of a spoon very nicely. You could draw a line across that with your finger. It's just the right consistency. Now, when I put that in the refrigerator, this thickened up dramatically when I cooled it. It becomes a paste, or it becomes like I'm trying to think of what I would. It almost has the consistency of ricotta cheese at that point after it's been in the refrigerator overnight. So I took that out about I took that out of the fridge about 3 hours ahead of when I was going to make this pizza to let it start to warm back up a little bit. But that's the story of this white sauce. And I'm going to change this. The next time I make this, I'm not going to saute the garlic in with my butter. What I'm going to do is I'm going to roast either 1 or 2 whole bulbs of garlic. I'm going to roast those, and I'm going to make the bechamel, and then I'm going to squeeze my roasted garlic out into that bechamel and work that in. and bring a lot higher quantity of roasted garlic into it and see if I get where I want to be, because I think that'll probably take me there. So that night, I set up this is my sourdough starter. So I dipped out some of that into my mixing bowl, and I knew how much sourdough starter I needed for this batch. So I whipped that up in a mixing bowl, and then I just covered that up with plastic because I want that starter to go for 12 to 14 hours before I'm ready to mix my dough. So the next morning, that sourdough, I forgot to take a picture before I added my water. So at this point, I added my water to my sourdough starter, and then I mixed that up, and then I add my flour, and then I mix that flour up until I've got a shaggy dough ball. And I haven't put my salt in here yet, so I cover this guy up with plastic and let that rest for an hour to an hour and a half. That's called an autolyse. That allows that flour to completely absorb the water. And I've just got some olive oil and salt here. So after I've let that flour and water absorb, I dump the salt and the olive oil into my dough, and then I knead my dough. I get my dough out on my work table, and I just knead my dough until I get a nice. I don't get a really perfectly smooth dough ball at this point because I didn't knead this in the mixer. This batch of dough is a little bit small for my mixer, so I was doing it by hand. And what I did, I don't have pictures of all this process either. This dough was going to be an 8-hour room temperature ferment. So during the first 2 to 2.5 hours of this bulk rise, I was taking this dough out and I was stretching it and folding it every 20 minutes to get myself a nice gluten network built up. And then I, put it back in the bowl. At this point, I think this is the photo I took when I put it back in the bowl to let it do a bulk rise where I wasn't going to do any more stretching and folding. And later on that afternoon, closer to time to cook, I went ahead and fired up the Kamado Joe Classic. And that's about how much charcoal I put in there. I don't know how much that is, but I used 3 fire starters on it because I want to get up around 550 degrees or so for this cook. So I set my accessory rack up there. I set both halves of my heat deflector on it. And then I had a couple of these stainless steel washers that I'm not using from another project. I set them on there and then just set my pizza stone on top of that. And yes, this is a repaired pizza stone. I broke this guy because I dropped it. And I fixed it with JB Weld. So this is the gap I have. It's about, I don't know, it might be a 1/2 inch gap between the heat deflectors and the pizza stone. But this process will keep you from getting your pizza stone too hot. That pizza stone will not get more than 50 or 75 degrees hotter than your dome temperature with this method. And this method is a method that I came up with long before the dojo came out. Jeff will back me up on that. This is a process that I came up with long before the dojo, and the dojo implemented this process by using the heat deflectors and the pizza stone with a gap between them, and it works very well. So, if you don't have a dojo, this is how you want to do your pizzas on a Kamado Joe. You need that little air gap. So I started prepping everything that I'm going to put on this pizza. I diced up a little bit of red bell pepper, green bell pepper, and some onion. And I've got low moisture whole milk mozzarella here, and I've got my Parmigiano Reggiano here, and some sliced, this is boar's head pepperoni. So I got my dough out and I shaped it. You can't really see it here, but I use my dough docker on this, the roller with the spikes on it around in the middle. And that keeps these big, huge bubbles from forming in this thing when you cook it. So here I have spread my white sauce on this pizza, and I probably used a 1/2 cup or so of that white sauce. This pizza is about 14 inches. It's about a 14-inch diameter pizza, and I made a dough ball that was about 375 grams to make a pizza this size. So I spread my white sauce, You can't, it's this picture, it's hard to see, but I grated on some more of the Parmigiano Reggiano on top of that. Grated mozzarella. I put my onions and peppers on it, and then I laid pepperoni on top of that. And I'm working here on semolina flour. I put semolina flour down on my work table, which makes it easy to get to this stage, to get the peel under it. This is my GI metal peel. It's the only peel I've got that's large enough for a pizza. This is a, you can kind of see here, this is a 14-inch wide peel. So you can see my pizza's almost 14 inches wide there. So now the grill's good and hot. I'm cruising up right at about 550 there, and it's been there for a while. It's important to preheat the Kamado and make sure your stone's hot. If you want to cook pizza at 550, when your Kamado gets to 550, it needs to be there for 20 or 30 minutes before you start your cook. You want that Kamado, you want all the ceramics, including the stone you're cooking on, to be fully preheated, and that's important. So I put the pizza on there and closed it up, and this was a 12-minute long cook. And for what it's worth, guys, the hydration level on this pizza, if you're into that, was 64%, and it was, as you can see here, I would have liked for my crust to brown slightly more than it did. So next time I make this, I'm going to go back to a 62%, and I might even add a half a teaspoon of sugar to that water next time as well. Maybe, we'll see. But this thing came out extremely well. It's just the only thing, what happened here, the reason my pepperonis in the middle have gotten covered up is that bechamel heated up and expanded, and it rose up over, kind of got on top of my pepperoni there. So got to work that out a little bit as well. But this guy was beautiful. This is what it looks like when I took it off. It's just got, I think I'm about perfect on my color there. And I know somebody's going to ask me, I forgot to do it. I did not take a picture of the bottom of this crust to show you that. But Tanya, how was the bottom of this pizza?
It was perfect. It had the leopard spots that you want. It looked good.
Well,
Because I did.
let me qualify that. It had brown spots, but it wasn't leopard spotting like a Neapolitan. They weren't dark. They weren't black. They weren't charred. They were just brown. So
They were perfect.
that's where we ended up. And here's a little cross section of the cut. And this crust, in my opinion, came out perfectly because all the way across the bottom of this pizza, this pizza was firm enough that you could hold it by the outer edge out there, and it would not flop down on you. It had enough strength to that crust that it would hold up on the slice, but it didn't have a crunch. It had a beautiful chew to it. Would you agree with that, Tanya?
Oh, yes. It was delicious. I mean, I had no problems making a happy plate and going back for seconds. It was good. The only thing I added was some crushed red pepper. Hot dog, it was good.
Yeah, it's really, well, I got one more picture here of another little picture of the edge. This was, like I said, this was an 8-hour room temperature fermented sourdough. I decided not to go the cold ferment route this time around. So let's see.
Yeah, Beth, that was the little lamb lover.
Yeah, Anurag, there's a lot to know about. Let me that's a good comment. I want to back to that for a minute here.
Okay.
Well, go ahead and put it up there.
Stop messing with my comment board.
Bring it up. Bring
I'll
Anurag's
click the
comment up.
mouse.
There, Anurag, it is. There's a. This is. It's hard to grasp this sometimes. You can make pizza dough any hydration level you want to make it. And here's what's going to happen. Lower hydration pizza dough with less water in it needs to cook faster. It needs to be cooked at hotter temperatures because this pizza dough, I know for a fact, if I would have made this one at 60%, that 12-minute long cook would have given me a crunchy pizza crust. And sometimes I don't like it to be that crunchy. I like it to have a chew to it. That's why I went with 64% on this one. Uh, let me see if I can. I've done this so many times. You use more water when you're going to cook at lower temperatures for longer periods of time. That's the way I like. It's kind of an inverse relationship. Uh, Higher temperatures, less water in the dough. That's why Neapolitan pizzas are done at 58 to 60%, and that's why pan pizzas like a Sicilian or a grandma pie or some of these other pan pizzas, they're up at 70%. That's why focaccia is 70 plus percent. Jeff and I did focaccia at 75 and 80% because it's a cook at 450 or 500, and it's a really wet dough and it's going to cook for a longer period of time. If it doesn't have the water in it, the dough will get crunchy and it will if your pizza dough is too crunchy, it's because you didn't have enough water in the dough for whatever temperature you cooked at. And there's a lot of other factors involved in it. Neapolitan pizzas cook in 90 seconds because you're cooking at 900 degrees Fahrenheit and there's not much topping on that pizza. It's got a very thin layer of tomato sauce on it, a few pieces of buffalo mozzarella, and the basil, you don't put it on there till you take it out of the oven. The basil cooks from the residual heat from the pizza when you take it out of the oven. But a pizza that's got a pizza with this much topping on it that I've made here, you could not cook that Neapolitan style because you would overcook the crust before the toppings cooked on this. So it's an inverse relationship, more water or lower temperatures. And it's kind of, you have to look at it from that. So yeah,
Speaking
Scott
of
says,
which, John, the
say,
focaccia we made, the 75 and the 80, which did you prefer better, the 75 or the 80?
I don't know that it made much difference one way or the other.
That was my thought. I didn't see much of a
I
difference in
think
the two.
75 is probably a sweet spot on that because I've seen focaccia made up at 80 and
Mhm.
85 and 90. It's one of these things that it's a challenge. I don't have the right. I would really, if I was going to do doughs that are that wet, I would need to invest in one of those spiral mixers like Freddie has,
Yeah,
because that kind of mixer, I think, is a darn near requirement to get a good gluten network built in a dough that's that wet.
absolutely.
At 550 on a rog, I would shoot for 62 to 64% hydration. That's what I did here. 64%. I would start at 64 and see how well you can handle the 64% hydration dough. The wetter your dough is, the harder it is to get it on and off your pizza peel and get it on and off the. It's easy to get it off the stone once you cook it, but uh, wetter
62 to
doughs are
64% hydration is my sweet spot.
yeah, wetter doughs are a little bit harder to get on your peel. Uh, so that's why a lot of people like to do the parchment paper thing. But I've done enough of these now. I've learned some tricks. If you get enough flour underneath your dough on your work surface, you can get your peel under it. And you want to use a flour that's not gonna cake up when it gets wet. That's why I use semolina flour and do not use cornmeal. I
No.
despise using cornmeal because that cornmeal that sticks to the bottom of that pizza is going to burn. It's going to
And leave a
char.
funky taste to it
It doesn't
also.
taste good. Use
Yeah.
semolina flour or use a 50-50 mix of semolina flour and rice flour, and you'll be golden. Uh, Make sure there's plenty of that under your dough. And that's why I like these perforated pizza peels. Once you get that pizza on the peel, right before you're ready to launch that onto your stone, you give that peel a jiggle and that pizza will wiggle back and forth on that perforated peel, and the excess flour that's on the bottom of that dough will sip right off and shake right out, and it won't cake up and make a mess. That's why you get the perforated peels. So we need to keep moving here. Okay. Boiled peanuts. This is something I discovered this week, that this is regional. A lot of the people that follow me have either never had this before or they've heard bad stories about it. But I told Tanya, I said, I want to try making some of these. I've never made them myself. And these, when I was a kid, my parents, when we would go to the beach, when we get down into the eastern part of North Carolina near the coast, boy, they grow a lot of peanuts in eastern North Carolina, because this is a item that grows well in a sandy soil. And I bought some. You have to use green peanuts. They have to be raw. And you can't do this with cooked peanuts. So I bought some of these raw peanuts in the shell, and I looked at a lot of different ways people were doing it, and I decided I was going to come up with my own flavor profile for this. If you go online and start looking for boiled peanut recipes, it seems like everybody wants to do a Cajun theme, and I just decided I didn't want to do that. And they're buying like Tony Chacari's Cajun seasoning, or the same stuff you'd put in a shrimp or crawdad boil or something like that. But I didn't want to do that. So these jalapeno peppers are some that came off my jalapeno pepper plant outside. I got a bulb of garlic, and this thyme and this oregano here are off my plants outside. So that's what I decided to go with. So a little bit more, I took some cumin and ground some cumin in my mortar and pestle, and I used about a tablespoon or a tablespoon and a half of Man Cave Magic number 2. That's what's in that little bowl right there. So the first thing you want to do is rinse these things off. They're not 100% clean, and guys, peanut shells are dirty, and there's stuff on them that you're not going to be able to get off. But the good news is you're not going to eat the shells. You're going to take what's inside of the shells out and eat it after you're done with this. So you don't really have to worry so much about that. I wanted to cook these things in chicken stock, and this Better Than Bouillon product is something that Tanya and I have been using for a while. I haven't started making my chicken stock yet, but now that we've got that pressure canner, I'm going to be working on that. But this Better Than Bouillon, I have a love-hate relationship with this stuff. The thing I love about it, it's got a beautiful flavor to it. And what I hate about it is it's got a ton of salt in it. But for this project, that ton of salt's a good thing, because you got to have a really salty water solution to make good boiled peanuts. You want your salt solution to be 3 to 4% by weight. So you need 30 to 40 grams of salt per liter or per quart of water. And this stuff has almost enough salt in it to make that happen. The reason I added the Man Cave Magic number 2 is because I needed to add just a little bit more salt to get it to that level. So this Better Than Bouillon, you use a tablespoon of it per cup of water. So I used about a teaspoon per cup of water. So I used about 4 teaspoons, and I decided I'm going to use a little bit of liquid smoke in this too. So I used about a tablespoon of liquid smoke to bring a smoke flavor to this. So I've just sliced my head of garlic in half. I sliced my jalapeno peppers in half, and I left my herbs on the stems. I got my chicken stock up to a boil. I dumped my peanuts in, and then I put all that other stuff in there, and I just stirred it up, and I backed the heat down to where I just had a really, really low simmer where you can only see a little bit of bubbling going on. And I stirred it up. I put the lid on it and let that guy go for 4 hours. And that's about how long it takes. And when you come back to it, you've got a mess of stuff here. So what I did basically was I took a slotted spoon and dipped out all the peanuts and tried to leave all the other stuff behind. I put these things in a couple of mason jars, and then I poured the liquid back into those jars. But this is what you end up with. You open these up, and you've got these peanuts in here, and Jeff, have you had boiled peanuts before?
I've had them and I've made them.
Okay, correct me if I'm wrong here, but what you end up with here is the consistency that you get with a good boiled peanut is like a pinto bean that's not quite fully cooked. Does that sound about right to you on the texture?
Yeah, pinto bean or any bean, not quite fully cooked.
Yeah, it's not.
You don't want mush. If you got mush, you overcooked it.
Yeah, it's not mushy. It's got a little bit of bite to it, but it's got a good salty flavor. And these things, the garlic and the jalapeno pepper in there were amazing. I was truly amazed with the flavor that I came up with here on that. It came up really nicely, and unfortunately, Tanya hasn't tried these yet.
Not
I
yet.
haven't had the opportunity to let Tanya try. Tanya's on the fence as to whether or not she thinks she's going to like this or not. But
I
Carl,
love hot boiled peanuts.
my local grocery store has them. In fact, I was at a Food Lion that's right here in town. They had a bulk bin where you could scoop them out however much you wanted for $2.99 a pound. And Tanya, when I was back up there today, they had a 10-pound bag for $14.99, which is $1.49. It's half the price I paid per pound. But I'm not going to do 10 pounds of them. But in reality, 10 pounds would be the way to go because these things go quickly, and you want to eat these things hot.
They're addicting.
Do what?
They're addicting. You can't.
They
It's like a
are.
Lay's potato chip. You can't eat just one.
Right. But it's fun. You heat them up, and you just sit there and pull the shells off of them and pull the peanuts out and eat them, and they're delicious. They're really good. I like them, and I don't like peanuts. I've told you guys before. I don't like nuts of any kind, but that I'll eat. I'll eat that. So that's the cooking stuff I wanted to go over this week. Carl, I did not have to add any liquid during the cook because I cooked it with the lid on. I wasn't letting that evaporate out and reduce. I put the lid on the saucepan for the entire cook. I pulled that lid off a couple of times and just gave it a stir. But no, you don't have to add any liquid. That's you don't want to cook that with the lid off because if you do, the salt concentration in there will get out of hand. It'll get really salty if you let that liquid reduce.
John,
Uh-huh.
we had a couple questions related to the pizza cut. Could we revisit that?
Yep, we can. Jeffrey, under normal circumstances, I would use my Royal Oak for pizza. Uh, I'm not going to discuss the brand of charcoal I used for this one today, or this pizza, because I was using something I don't normally use. I bought something a while back that I wanted to try, and I used some of it during this cook, and it's not something I'll probably ever use again. Look there. Jeff's got company.
Well, she wants to say something. Talk about the lamb chops. So you like lamb chops?
Yeah.
She likes
Yeah.
lamb chops.
That's why Jeff makes lamb chops every day right there. I think her middle name must be Lamb Chop.
Think your middle name is lamb chop?
No. That's not my middle name at all.
Brian's got a good question. Why didn't I cook that in the Alpha oven? There's two reasons I didn't cook that in the Alpha oven. The main reason is the Alpha oven is a little bit more difficult to cook at that temperature. It takes a little more effort. You have to get the oven hot, get it preheated, and you have to cook on the downswing. You have to cook while the oven's cooling. The second reason, well, actually, there's three reasons. The second reason is I wanted to cook a 14-inch pizza. A 14-inch pizza is a little bit large for the Alpha 1. I can get a 14-inch peel through the door on the Alpha 1, but it's a really tight squeeze, and I've got one edge of the pizza really close to the fire. The third reason I didn't cook on the Alpha ovens because I haven't cooked a pizza on my Kamado Joe in a long time, and I just wanted to cook on the Kamado Joe. That's the only reason. There's nothing against it. I don't have anything against the Alpha. If I was going to cook that pizza in the Alpha, I would have cooked a 12-inch pizza instead of a 14. But since that was going to be dinner for me and Tanya, when Tanya and I are going to share one pizza, I'd rather have a 14-inch pizza than a 12. That's
Especially
what
when
we
it's
want.
really tasty.
Yeah, I knew Tanya would like that pizza. I felt confident. She doesn't care as much for my white pizza that's got the ricotta base on it. She'll eat that, but she's
It's
not.
okay.
It's not her jam. She's not excited about that one. But I think she liked this one.
It was very good.
We're gonna make this one into something great. We're gonna keep playing with that. And like I said, I'm gonna go with a large amount of roasted garlic on it next time because I think roasted garlic will be something different, something good. So we'll go with that. And what else?
Well, that was all the ones that was on the pizza.
Yeah. Ed, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I've got these in mason jars in the refrigerator with some of that liquid. So what I'll have to do, I'll dump the entire contents of that mason jar right back into a saucepan, heat it back up, and I'll eat them that way. That you have to eat these things hot. They're not. I don't know how they would be
No,
cold.
they're
Yeah.
not good cold. They're mush. Yeah, it's just not good cold.
When we would get these things on the roadside stands, they would hand them to us in paper bags,
Yep.
small paper bags. There was no liquid there, but they were hot in those paper bags. They were draining them right out of the boiler, draining the water off of them, and putting them in a paper bag, and that's how you got them. And you ate them right then. This is something you got to eat now. You don't save them. So
It's like
We
sushi.
always got them in a big styrofoam cup.
yeah, Janice has got us a question about pastrami. Let's hear it.
And while she's typing that, Janice, Lily says hi back to you as well.
I just had an extra splash of bourbon fall into my glass.
When how that happened?
Don't tell anybody. Janice, you can use both. You can use either or both. If Jeff, answer this question for me.
Yep.
Which one?
I prefer the point. That's me.
I'm with Jeff.
But
If
you
you
know
have a
what?
choice,
I saw a guy today make pastrami out of pork belly. I'm wondering how that is.
I don't know. I've made pastrami out of beef ribs, and I've made
Yep.
pastrami out of chuck roast.
Yep, I've done that. I've never had it out of pork belly, and I'm kind of curious because he swore it was the best thing since sliced bread.
Janice, you can go either way. The reason I like the point is because it's got the higher fat content. It's just more
Yep.
flavorful in the long run. But I guess it depends on what you're going to do with it because if you want to shave it thin, you need to go with the flat because it's going to be firm enough that it'll hold together. And yeah, pork belly pastrami, I can't imagine that. I don't know how that would come out. I've never heard of making. I've never tried to make pastrami with pork. Now I have made Canadian bacon with pork loin, and that's like the only difference between that and pastrami is that it's pork instead of beef, and I'm not putting a heavy black pepper and coriander rub on the outside of it.
Yeah.
But
I wouldn't make Canadian bacon out of the tenderloin, pork tenderloin.
well, you could do that, but the Canadians they don't call it Canadian bacon in Canada. They call
No.
it something else.
They call it bacon.
It's
That's what they
there's
call it in
something
England too, is bacon.
there's something else they call it up there. I can't remember what it is. If any of you guys are from Canada, tell me what it is they call Canadian bacon up there. It's not bacon and it's not Canadian bacon. There's another it's pea meal bacon. Jeff, does that ring a bell with you?
I'm looking it up now.
Look up pea meal, Peameal.
Honorog says it's pea meal ham.
Pea meal ham. Okay.
Yeah, that sounds
From
disgusting.
what I'm reading on Google, they call it back bacon.
Back
So-
bacon. Okay. I don't
Yeah.
know. Those Canadians are all weird. So and they
From
talk.
okay, I don't want to hear more about pea-meal ham or pea-meal bacon. That just sounds disgusting. So
Okay.
in my presence, it's Canadian bacon.
Canadian bacon. We like Canadian bacon, and
Yes.
I've made it before, but the pastrami process I've gotten down to a science that I'm happy with, and I haven't made any in a while, but I haven't done a lot. That's a good question, Brian, because I don't know. I don't know where it goes, and
That's a question I would like to know the answer to, because you see a whole bunch of flats out there and
well,
you go,
you know,
what happened to the point?
next time I'm at Sam's Club, maybe I'll ask them. I'm trying to figure out if they actually process any meat at Sam's Club, or if
I
it
don't
just
think they
comes
do, John. I think everything comes in Cairo, and that's what they, I think the only thing they might process is they take beef ribs and cut them down to to the Korean rib. I think that's really about the
the
only thing they
answer to
do.
the question, if I had to take a guess at it, is it's made into ground pork, uh, because you have to realize one thing, guys. When you're talking about brisket, our group, me and you, we are the only people that give a rat's ass about brisket. Not there's very few people out there that are willing to spend the time and energy it takes to cook brisket. So brisket, most briskets get ground up, and I'm sure they probably make hamburger meat with it, and they probably
Yeah.
make various. They make sausage. I'm sure it probably gets ground for things like sausage as well. So
Yeah,
I
well,
think
I said before brisket became, popular, that's really all it was used for, was ground beef and sausage.
brisket point would be good sausage meat because it's got a high fat content.
Absolutely.
It would make excellent beef sausage and brats. I don't know. So ask yourself what beef brats are made from, and I bet you'll find stuff like that in it.
Say, I cook a beef point any day of the week over a full packer.
I would too, but I like the flat. You know, Tanya and I were talking tonight. We had enchiladas tonight, and I was thinking to myself that would be an excellent uh, use for leftover brisket. Would make beef enchiladas out of chopped brisket. That would be fantastic. Uh,
Make yourself a brisket pizza, John.
yeah,
We,
I could
we
do
make a
that.
brisket pizza using the white sauce. That's off the hook.
So, all right. Have I covered the questions that we needed to hit?
Yeah, I just wanted to point out one more thing. And this
Okay.
is this comment from Andrew. He is doing something really interesting with his pork tenderloin. And I just flagged that so that you can see that and
Sounds
maybe.
like he's making something to stuff it with.
Yes,
That's what it
he
looks like.
is.
Either that or he's turning it
He's
into a roll.
rolling it up.
Andrew, are you still with us? If you are you butterflying that?
He actually
See,
had to hop off, but yes, he did state that he was butterflying. So
was he
I just
doing a
kind
pork
of,
loin or a pork tenderloin?
well, he was talking about it while you were doing your, they were showing the Jeff's pork tenderloins.
Okay,
So
yeah, that's
anyway,
that would be good.
I thought it
Sun-dried
sounded
tomatoes are crazy. I love them.
good.
Goat
Yeah, they
cheese.
add a whole new dimension to anything you're cooking, sun-dried tomatoes.
I would want to add some caramelized onions into that mix, but that would be
Absolutely.
awesome. Yeah, that looks good. A brisket burrito
That
bowl.
might be
Heck
good.
yeah, that sounds good. So that's all the cooking I've had this week. And I don't know what. Let me tell you before we wrap up here and start looking at the hiking pictures. Next week I've got a guest coming on. I finally got somebody that'll come on and talk to us about talk pizza with us. I've got. Oh man, I'm getting senile. Young age, I've forgotten his name already. it's it's the guy from. Oh
It's the
boy.
Noid. The Noid has invaded. For those of us old enough to remember the Noid.
Hang on just a second.
I agree, Jeff.
Yeah.
It was that extra splash.
surprise.
For some reason or another, my mind has gone completely blank here on me.
John, trust me, that's more prevalent as you get older.
Yeah, and that's the problem. I'm getting old. It's
Please don't go down that route. I mean, I got 10 plus years on you.
Matt Frampton is his name, and he's the Matt is the guy that makes the dough and the sauce is the pizza.
Urban Slicer.
Urban Slicer.
There we
Matt Frampton
go.
from Matt. Oh boy, Matt Frampton from Urban Slicer is coming on with us next Thursday night. We're going to talk about pizza. Matt formed his own company, this Urban Slicer, and his first products were these dough mixes where all you do is add water. And he's got 3 different styles. He's got a Detroit style, a Neapolitan style, and I'm trying to remember. I don't remember what the third style is right off the top of my head, but
It's a regular pizza.
just a regular plain pizza.
Yeah,
and
it's a regular
we're going to
pizza.
have Matt on. We're going to have Matt on. We're going to talk about pizza. I don't think he's related to Peter.
Now, that's the real question. I'm
Yeah.
sitting there going,
We'll ask him. We'll ask him when we've got him on here. But I'm going to get with Matt the first part of the week, and I'm going to get a collection of photos together from Matt that we can talk about. And we'll talk about Matt's pizza making experience and what got him into deciding to enter that market space. And
Hey, John, speaking of which, I don't know if you've noticed it. You got a Publix near you, right?
Near is relevant.
Okay, well, I understand because you live out in BFE, but
It's
be that
not
as it
far.
may.
It's not that far. It's
And
closer than Costco.
in the Publix here, they have a King Arthur wheat keto flour pizza mix.
Yeah.
The box makes 2 dough balls.
Okay. I haven't seen
I'm going
that.
to try it.
Well, let me know how you like it. I have not had good luck with keto pizzas. I've not come up with one that I would make again. So I haven't tried the Caputo. Well, that's not keto friendly necessarily. It's gluten free. So yeah, let me know how you like it.
Yeah, I'm going to get a box of it and see what it comes out to. What was it, 6 net grams carbs per pizza, which isn't bad.
Well, Tanya, that's what when Tanya and I, when I'm doing keto pizzas, I'm making crustless pizzas, and Tanya and I love those. We make them.
Kathy and I love those too.
Yeah, those end up at about 6 or 7 net carbs, and it's about a 700 calorie meal, so it's pretty good. It's a pretty good meal with not a lot of carbs. Tanya, I made a lot of those, so.
Yeah.
All right. Now, let me get back to where we were. We were Matt Frampton. I want to, if you're interested in the hike I took today, I'm going to show you a few pictures of that. This place is called Stone Mountain State Park, and it's in a town called Roaring Gap, North Carolina. And this is one of the things I love about this loop trail. This is the 3rd time I've done this loop. But there's this sign here that says injury or death possible. So that's at the very beginning of the trail. So this is a loop trail that's 4 3/4 miles. And you've got 2 options when you take this loop. If you take the counterclockwise option, which is the loop that I took, Anurag, thanks for joining us. I took the counterclockwise option, which is a very long uphill loop that takes you up. I'll show you the vertical ascent that I measured on my watch when we get there, but the trail is beautiful. And I got there early. I started this hike just before 8 o'clock. Yeah, it was probably about 7:45 in the morning when I actually got on the trail. And this is an hour and a half from where I live, so I had to drive 90 miles to get there. Beautiful forest. This first part of the trail follows a creek, and you come across this old homestead. I can't remember the name, but this is Stone Mountain that you see in the background back here. And the ultimate object of my trip is to be at the summit of this, which is not visible in this picture. the summit is actually back off to the left here that you can't see in this photograph. But what we're going to be doing is we're going to be hiking all the way around that outer edge, and we're going to come back up and come across the top side of this thing to get back to the summit. So there's another view of the lower end of the rock. So we keep on going, and there's stairs. They've got stairs on this trail everywhere you go. I bet I climbed 1,000 stairs before I got to the top of this thing. There's every time you turn around, you're running into stairs on the trail, and this is the Stone Mountain Waterfall. This is the base of it. I've got a little video here. This is nearly 200 vertical feet from where I'm standing to the very top of this fall. And you can't actually see the very top of it from where I'm standing here because it goes on up, but it's really absolutely a beautiful place. This, you can't hear the audio here. I wish you could. But at this point, I've got to go back up a bunch more steps. Oh, and I had to stop for the obligatory selfie right there. Here's some of the steps. The first part of the steps that start climbing you up to the top of that waterfall. And here, I'm looking down from the top of that waterfall, which you can't see it past the drop off right here. But from right here, it's nearly 200 vertical feet down to where I took that last picture. Here's another shot from the same place. And 200-foot falls ahead. Fatalities have occurred. Use extreme caution. So this is a really fun trail. Here, I'm traversing that rock dome. I haven't gotten to the summit here. I'm still at this spot. I'm about 3/4 of a mile still from the summit. And this is just a few pictures I took, but well, actually I made a video here. Let's look at that. Kind of a panoramic video from left to right. You can see over here on the right edge, up there, that summit up there, that's where I'm headed, up to the top of this thing. In this picture, you can see straight ahead up here, the summit is right up in here. And here, I decided to take a little picture of my Garmin watch because I was logging my hike with the watch. And at this point, I have, I've been going for an hour and a half. I've covered 3.5 miles. So it's a rough, it's not a fast pace. And plus I've stopped here and there to take pictures, but my watch has measured 2,000 vertical feet of climb, and that's not 2,000 feet of elevation distance, but some of this trail, when you go up and down, you still get vertical climb when you haven't changed elevation. But 2,000 feet of vertical ascent on the trail to this point, to the summit. And here we are at the summit. And unfortunately, the summit itself of this mountain's got trees around the outer perimeter of it where you can't see off the edge. So I walked on down to where this railing is here and went off to the left to where you can start to see down into the valley. And then I came down here to where you can start to see more. It's kind of hard to tell from this picture, especially because this is a panoramic view. This is about a 180-degree view from where I was standing. But here, this is a very extreme drop-off. It's hard to see from right here, but I was not comfortable walking any further forward toward that cliff from where I was right here, because if you slip and fall right here, there's nothing to break your fall for about 1,000 feet. It's really a long way down. And here's another panoramic view from kind of the same spot. It's a really beautiful place. And here we are. This is my favorite selfie of the day. This is the first staircase I came to on my way down. Now, at this point in this 4 3/4 mile hike, I am about 3 3/4 mile into this hike. And that 2,000 feet of vertical ascent that I had coming here, I'm going to get 2,000 feet of descent over the next 3/4 of a mile here that I got, and 3 3/4 of a mile coming up. This is a really steep downhill trek from here down back to where I started. And that's the last picture I put in this. Series, but I know you guys are probably not interested in my hiking, but I really enjoy getting out and doing these things. It's a lot of fun. Uh, I
So how
do a
many
lot.
calories did you burn, John?
Do what?
How many calories did you burn on that little trek?
Well, if my Garmin is accurate, let's see, it measures that, so I can have a look here. Let's see what the Garmin registered for me. Uh, I'll show you that screen. It's not as many as you would think. Uh, let's see. According to the Garmin, I burned 808 calories. That was a 4.74 mile hike and a 2 hour 12 minute total trip, and 27.5 minute miles. Which that's not a really good statistic, but I did not stop the Garmin every time I stopped to take pictures. And there was one point on the last leg of that up to the summit, I came across a bench, and I decided to take about a 10-minute break on that bench on the way up because I was humping it. Uh, this kind of shows you the altitude gain, and here you can see my pace. You can see everywhere my pace line here, that blue line's not solid. It's where I stopped to take pictures or to do something along the hike. Heart rate, I averaged 105 beats per minute for the entire walk, and I peaked out at probably 150 in some places. There's 151 right there, which is in some of this trail, like I said, was steep uh, in places. And I don't believe my Garmin's 100% accurate on elevation measurements either, because especially lately, some of them seem, I don't think I had a total ascent. It says here, total ascent, 3,169 feet, total descent, 3,297. That may be somewhat accurate. I don't know. My maximum elevation above sea level is 2,200 feet. So yeah, it says 800 calories, so I don't know. 800 calories over 2 hours is not that bad. It's not like running, but it's pretty good. It's good exercise.
Mm-hmm.
But I had a great time. I really enjoy it, and I'm gonna try. I've got a lot of free time now, so I'm gonna try to take a hike like that maybe once a week for a while. I don't know where I'll go next week. Uh, I like hiking. We've got a park down on the lake here in town. It's a relatively new park, and I hike there on a daily basis. I like to go down there, and I can hike anywhere from just a short 1 mile loop, and I can go. I've just with the new trail they just opened up with a bridge they built that joins it to another park. I can do a 7+ mile loop over there at that park, and I really like hiking down there. So
Cool.
Tanya goes down there sometimes as well with me. We both like that park. They're getting ready to build a kayak and canoe launch down there, and I'm hoping I'm going to be able to buy a kayak because I think I would really enjoy that. So we'll see what happens. I've actually got one picked out, but my income's not what it was. So we'll have to see if I can make that happen. Uh, we'll see. I think I would enjoy kayaking, but they're going to build that. They're going to start that kayak and canoe launch sometime next month. I don't know when it'll be finished, but I'll evaluate that when the time comes. But we'll
Cool.
see.
All right, well, I'm getting ready to get out of here. I got to get up at ODEC 30 to get on the road.
Are you going to your cabin this weekend?
Yep.
All right. Well, that's awesome. A paddleboard. Brian, Tanya, and I've talked about the paddleboarding thing too. I've thought about that. Uh, it's something I'd like to try. Uh, And I think Tanya would be interested in trying that too. We'll see. We found a place local to us, or fairly local to us, where you can go take a lesson, and they'll give you a lesson on paddleboarding. And I think Tanya and I might do that. So we'll see what happens.
Thank you, Janice. I'm out of here. See you all next Friday or next
Yes,
Thursday.
thanks for
Friday.
hanging out with us. No,
That's
Mike,
right.
I didn't retire. I was retired. Let's put it that way. So yeah, I am no longer affiliated with anyone. I've been thinking about that, thinking about what I'm going to do, and I think currently I'm probably going to go back to rebuilding and becoming Man Cave Meals again. And uh, I'm still thinking. I haven't fully decided what I'm going to do, but right now I'm enjoying the fact that I don't have to do anything. Uh, I'll sort it out, and I'm gonna keep doing this. And Janice, freeing, yes, it is freeing, but I've taken a big income hit in the process, so I've got to sort that out as well, and we'll figure it out. The expendable income is not what it once was. So,
But you know what? Your wife and cats still love you.
yeah. Well, I know I got some cats. The cats love me at dinner time and breakfast time. So yeah, we'll figure it all out. But I stopped at a distillery. We have a distillery in a town called Statesville, North Carolina. I was telling Tanya we need to go there. They have tours, and some point maybe Tanya, let's do that next week one day. Let's run down there
Okay.
and take the tour. He said we can schedule it online, or he said you could just show up at the top of the hour.
Okay.
But I bought a bottle of bourbon from this place today. It's called Southern Distilling Company in Statesville, North Carolina. And I walked in the place. This was about 11 or 11:30 in the morning today. And there was nobody in there. And this guy walked up to me as soon as I walked in the door, introduced himself. And once again, of course, I don't remember what his name was. I got to get better with that. I'm ADD. I'm a perfect example of adult ADD. So I don't remember things. I don't pay attention when I should be sometimes. But he asked me, what do you like? He says, what are your interests? And I told him, and he took me over to the tasting bar and started pouring samples for me. I told him I liked sweeter bourbons. And I said, I'm not as big a fan of rye. I said, he says, do you like wheated bourbons? And I said, yeah, I've just really discovered that I do like wheated bourbons. So that's what this is. This is a cask strength single barrel wheated straight bourbon whiskey. It's called Southern Star Paragon, and it's 60.2%, which is 120 proof. And I got to taste this while I was there today, and it's good. Otherwise, I wouldn't have bought that. I really genuinely feel privileged to be able to taste something before I buy it. I've bought a lot of bottles of stuff that I haven't really liked after I've tried it. And I got to taste this one first, but for those of you that have been following my bourbon experience, you know I'm not as big a fan of rye. I don't like the spiciness of the rye whiskey. The rye bourbons I think you call it a rye whiskey. I don't think you call a rye bourbon, maybe, but I need Chris Seacott to come on back on here with me. In fact, I'm going to be sending anyway. He let me taste some samples of this stuff they've got that's called a double rye. It is an all rye, but it goes through its normal aging process in the barrels, but then it's finished for like an extra 6 months. Thanks, Janice. Thanks for coming. It goes into a bourbon barrel to get extra finishing for 6 more months or so after it's normal. And I tasted this stuff, and it did not have that overly spicy characteristic that I'm used to tasting when I taste a rye. And I'm not sure why I didn't buy it right then, but it had a very noticeable butterscotch characteristic to it. And I got to thinking about that after I left, and as I was riding home, I said I should have bought that because it was half the price of this one. It was a $30 or $35 bottle. It wasn't that bad. And Tanya, that's why we need to go back mainly, is because I want to get that. So
Okay.
I'm going to try this. I'm going to get a bottle of it where I can have a little bit better one-on-one experience where I can pour a couple ounces of it and get more than like a quarter of an ounce. These tastings I had 6 different samples today that were quarter of an ounce samples. You can't get crazy sampling bourbon, as you know, because of what'll happen, especially because I was driving. So I had 1.5 ounces of bourbon, which was about a regular pour. So I want to try. I'm going to get a bottle of that, what they call the double rye, and I'll have maybe one night I'll come back on here and we'll do another tasting. Butterscotch. I like butterscotch too, man. And some of these bourbons I've had, every now and then I come across a bourbon that's got those butterscotch notes to it, and this one happened to be one of those. And it was really weird because it was coming from a rye, and the stuff that I have never been into the 100% rye, which is what this is, but what I've had is called rye forward, which has a higher amount of rye in the regular bourbon grain bill, but those typically have what I consider to be a peppery characteristic, but almost like black pepper. It's that's how I perceive the rye whiskeys and the rye bourbons to have that characteristic. I'm not as big a fan of it. I like the sweetness that I get from a grain bill that's got a lot of corn in it, like 70 or more percent corn, malted barley, and most of them have a smaller percentage of the rye. So yeah, there's that. But yeah, we got to wrap up. I appreciate you guys hanging out with us tonight. Tanya, what do you got going on? You got anything else?
Like to work tonight, or pertaining to the podcast, or?
Yeah, you're running the show up there. Have I missed anything?
No, I've been watching all of it, and keeping my eye on it.
Yep.
So I think you got it interested, and I think you're probably good to go.
But yeah, next week, come back, we'll have Matt Frampton. We're going to talk about pizza. I've not been able to get anybody else on here that's an authority on pizza, so we'll get Matt on and we'll go from there. And so y'all have a good weekend. Delicious. Say what, Tanya?
I think that sounds delicious.
Yep. We'll and maybe we'll do another pizza next week. I may do white pie part deux. How about that? We'll see if we can get a better
white pie redux.
Redux, yeah. All right, guys. I appreciate it. Y'all have a good weekend. Until next time, have a good one.